everyone, and welcome to This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing Live Show number 176. That's right, 176, just the Friday before Christmas of 2018, and officially the first day of winter. And minus some power fluctuations that I hope will resolve themselves so I don't blink off from space. We will have a wonderful, fun show. Mr. Robert Cole is joining us, which is great because I'm going to call foul on his topics that he put out today. On his top story. I think it's a little biased of him to have chosen. I think we're there. We're looking at Mr. Robert from a different angle.
Is it safe?
Yeah, right. Hey, listen, I'm calling foul on your top story, dude. I'm seeing biasness here. I'm seeing biasness as towards your PhocusWire relationship. You know, I think the top story is Facebook yet again. And not, as well of an article as it is, PhocusWire's referral to the top 3 newsmakers of 2018.
Well, did you check the row?
Well, but that's at the end of the show. And I think Facebook deservedly, because Facebook is destroying our known universe. And it will continue to do so.
Oh, it's allowing open sharing of individuals to be able. It's the public square, Lauren.
For those who may not know,
you're suppressing you would like to suppress the free speech of the people?
For those who rely solely on our show to guide their way through the news that's worthy for hospitality, Facebook decided this week to admittingly share oopsie, again. We've been sharing.
There's no oopsie. As I've said on multiple occasions, all of Facebook's problems, these are not hacks. These are not anything. They are Facebook's business model. The product is the people. The people who freely
Soylent Green people.
Exactly. But that's the problem. You get something for free where you can do this. How is it monetized? It is selling that information. Now, they can say it's anonymized, but I seem to recall this one fellow, who was he, who talked about Facebook targeting in amazing ways where you could isolate. I seem to think that one of the use cases was a restaurant associated with a hotel at a beach that wound up targeting single women between, I think it was 24 and 35, to offer them, particular benefits such as complimentary valet parking, to come to what was, albeit perhaps a dying live music venue. And it worked, and it was geo-targeted. It excluded men.
Do you imagine how many marriages I may have inspired from that single act and gesture? How many relationships may have been cultivated from the fact that...
So what you're saying is your tune has changed somewhat.
Oh, no. I completely agree. I often also preface you
exploited the platform using dark posts.
I used my powers for good, not evil. Yes. I mean, I'm the good Superman, not the bad Superman.
I see. Okay.
Yes. And I always preface that by saying that the only difference between marketers and the government is that the government knows you by name. And I'm sad to say, unfortunately, that wasn't true, because apparently in the world of social data sharing, they know your name too.
Right. Well, and a use case again, I really should just productize my creepy line presentation, and that should just be kind of the standard at every single organization. It's just shift my whole consulting practice to business ethics.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you have a thriving business, but and this goes back a long ways. This actually goes back a few years. There was, when I was in the agency side of things, worked as a partner in an agency, we had other agencies or service profiles come in and show what they could do for targeting. And no holds barred, even at that level, an agency talking to another agency, the ability to correlate multi-platforms and triangulate the data that you get and being able to individually identify people was not a hard task. It was not. This isn't rocket science in the sense that, it's a mysterious, massive amount of data that's necessary before they can isolate you by name. No, it takes very little correlation of data before they know exactly what Lauren Gray's doing and where he's at and what he's bought.
Right. I would like to tell a little story about the HSMAI Marketing Advisory Board meeting. Actually, it was the Digital Marketing Advisory Board back then, and I happened to be sitting next to the esteemed Lauren Gray on my left, and I believe it was Sean Auckland of Google on my right. And so Lauren explained when speaking of Google's anonymous user ID that you can, it's coming back now, isn't it?
It's all coming back now.
That Lauren had a particular technique to use some JavaScript to pull this out and as he was saying, triangulate who that individual was. Because again, if you set this up properly, you target an ad, you know specifically who this is going to, or an email or whatever that may be, and you wind up with a universe of one, and then all of a sudden you see here's this anonymized ID. Well, you can put not 2 and 2 together, you're putting 1 to 1 together. I think it isn't even that hard. So you do that. And Sean on my right kind of piped in and said, well, you can't do that. And Lauren, I don't know if it was intentional or not. You go, oh, no, you can. It's really easy. And we've been doing it for months. In which case, Sean started taking notes at that point. So, yeah. Uh-oh, and I've lost your audio. Can you hear me? I've lost my audio too.
I got it. I punched my mic on mute.
You muted me, did you?
No, I muted me, so I wasn't, because I didn't know if I had changed my audio on the other one. We're simulcasting on Facebook.
Okay. I couldn't hear me. I couldn't hear me either. So I don't know.
Well, that's not a good thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, it is unfortunately true. Facebook. I mean, and I wish we could share the email strings of our co-hosts on the show, because
we can.
Yeah, true, we can. Actually,
you can post on the
rule that says we can't. There is no rule that says we can't.
Is there any assumption of privacy on email being sent by these individuals? I don't think so. Yeah.
The dialogue has been fun as to what we went back and forth on this. Ed made a very good point. He says this is just the tip of the iceberg of all of them. They're all going to come up and do their mea culpas. They're all going to say, "Yeah, whoopsie, we did that here." Well, if
they have, when they're caught, and that's the big problem with Facebook. In particular, and it is a leadership issue, right? I mean,
well, when you have a leader that came from an Ivy League college that told that everyone was effing stupid or idiots, in a conversation, that they'll give you any information that they'll just hand up their information. You got to know that that's got to carry it over into his professional life. That was a modicum in his head that said, "Hey, if we keep asking, they keep giving. Let's just keep taking."
Well, they will, because people will trade convenience and entertainment for privacy, and that's been proven over and over. If you make it fun, you make it free, and you create a value like that, sure. And again, I think there's a huge number of people who still see the stuff about Facebook and go, so what? I've done nothing wrong. I have nothing to hide. So who cares? And that, to me, is kind of a naive, approach, because it's like, you're right. You shouldn't have to care if nobody's going to use that information maliciously. However, if you wind up in a situation where all of a sudden, that's being taken out of context, I didn't, and now with the, between deep fakes and being able to do some very, very interesting things technologically, there's going to be a whole wild west of people being either accused of things or videos being circulated which are completely created from vapor, right? That never happened in reality, that look very, very real, right?
Well, and I even have, and this is a prosumer level software. Remember when I made the talking penguin just for fun?
Oh yeah.
You can take, there's softwares out there that you can do on your own computer. This isn't some big company that needs a massive computer, quantum computer to do. You can take an image of somebody and take enough time. You can isolate out all the motion pieces of their face, and literally then you do voice sampling. And if you do enough voice sampling of them, you can actually make them say with their own voice whatever you want them to say, and it'll move, and everything's animated. And
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
it's still,
And it's still a little pixelated and things like that, but
Right.
that's just computing power, early generation tests and things like that.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, in one of the, I'll get it posted in a second. One of the articles we had in the tech, I decided in our tech area to have 3 really scary articles, but NVIDIA has some amazing new technology where you take 2 individuals' pictures and they blend together. And there's a short video they have, and it's amazing because the output is a new individual who does not exist, right? Which is based on the characteristics of other individuals. And you start looking and you go, wow, that's really cool technology. But I think it's my creepy line theory. The borderline between, absolute genius and pure evil is this very, very thin creepy line, because you go, well, great. Now I can create literally a universe of individuals who've never existed, give them profile photos, so I don't need to run into a situation of, they have matching algorithms now that Google and Facebook and some of these guys are looking for fake accounts, because they'll go through and they'll go, oh, we've seen that profile photo before. That's a stock photo, right? That was the old school kludgy way of doing it. Now you can just create an image literally of an individual who has never existed before, because that individual doesn't exist. Sort of thing. And you are not going to be able to figure out there's a watermark in this, or it's been produced by whatever.
Think about 2 butterfly flapping over, the chaos theory. In China, and you can do this on Snapchat if you want to. We actually talked about it on the last show. There's a Lauren Gray on Snapchat. That isn't me. There's a Robert Cole. This is me.
Although they look so similar, they
do look so similar, right? But what they're doing is they're snapping up names that they're getting from databases to create accounts. That if you make enough of separate accounts, it creates an authenticity that the other accounts begin. Hey, Mr. Ed, will use. So there's a mass long strategy to this. China puts a timeline to everything, and generational is not a restriction to that. So if they create accounts and they create multiplicity of accounts, that creates authenticity of the entity that they create, so that other platforms authenticate via other platforms that have been created, and hence you created these avatars, these people that don't exist, that mimic real people or replace real people, because it's hard to prove it's not you if it's not you.
And welcome to the world of TripAdvisor fake review spam, which has been going on for a decade.
You know who's the worst at it is Snapchat.
Yeah,
that's what we just said.
Do you guys?
Snapchat's worse.
I mean, I know quite a few people in our industry who on Snapchat, they are teenagers. So their phone number, I have my address book integrated into Snapchat. And so it's teenagers that have created these false accounts, and it's their name. It says it's, who they are.
Okay.
Their identity
that's maybe better. So these aren't your friends and business associates who are pretending to be teenagers. These are teenagers pretending to be them. Just to clarify. Okay.
with the exception of Lauren, because his is
I'm in reverse. I have
a teenage.
I already got my avatar
girl.
set.
Yeah.
I got my avatar set. 16-year-old girl musician.
They are the same. They are the same person. Have you ever seen both of them in the room at the same time? No. I rest my case.
Yep.
Yeah. I can't argue the reality of that. I can't argue the reality of that. Yeah. And ironically, I was actually in New York when Lauren was in New York. I didn't realize that when I was last in New York in October. She was in there for some music award or something from some video she did.
She.
Yeah.
This is Lauren's way of bringing up that his Hannah Montana.
He was almost
personality has won some music awards.
Yeah, has won some music awards. Yeah. So the software is telling you about that makes animation. Well, it works really better than I say. Yeah.
That's right. He's got the whole hologram technology down too. He's a whole generation ahead of us. Yeah.
I talked to the hologram. We're good. She walks on stage and everything. Hey, so taking to the top story, the 3 things that were pointed out by PhocusWire as news leaders of 2018.
That's not PhocusWire. That is PhocusWire.
Oh, PhocusWire.
Former founder of T.
You know what it is? And that just shows you how biased I was. I read it as PhocusWire because you put it on top of the list. That's
well, and it is
bad.
the PHOCUS, which is, yes, they did certainly develop the branding to be similar to
So it's
Focus,
like
right?
PHAT fat.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have to ask Philip Wolf about that. Yes.
All right. So third place came Marriott Starwood, which I thought was odd that it was in third, but then again, I wouldn't have put Airbnb.
I don't know. I think in terms of, well, no, go ahead.
Well, okay.
we can debate it when we to number one and number two, right?
Robert
So you're thinking
Robert
that
just
should
said,
be.
Lauren, you're absolutely wrong, and how dare you question?
You noticed that too? Did you, Ed? Did you notice that too?
Yeah.
It's the,
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go and keep playing. It's all right. I'm going to rein you back.
Yeah.
I'll let you run a little bit before I bring you back.
it's really cute that you think you know something.
Yeah, that's good.
Go ahead.
Wait a minute. I'll pat myself on the head for you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Really nice.
So third was Marriott Starwood. Obviously, we could go about, which we have been pontificating for the past few weeks on their silliness of what they've been doing. That's probably a nice way of saying it. Second place was Google, which I would have actually put in first place in lieu of what was an Airbnb.
Well, actually, the Marriott Starwood thing, though, I think they have gotten a lot of cover now because of the whole Chinese angle, right? So they're now the victim, right? With the potential government hacking.
Are people buying that?
I was going to say,
I think so.
If anybody's buying that, that's just smoke. That's smoke.
I think that is giving them a tremendous amount of cover at this point.
So what, like Congress is buying it then? Because most people I've talked to, when they saw that as the thing,
Congress doesn't even know how the internet works.
That's convenient.
Yeah. Well, no, and whoever, I'm not sure what governmental organization just came out and said that, it was the last couple of days that 40 entities being hacked by Chinese government-backed entities, and it's like, hey, guess what? All these remember the Edward Snowden stuff? Sort of thing. Everybody's
I don't know who you're talking about.
That's what these big governments have been doing for a while, sort of thing. And again, I go back to the pre-PhocusWire, the T-News series I did. I think it was like 2010-ish on the fake review spam, where I laid out in one of the articles, here's what the military grade stuff does for the kind of misinformation campaigns, which is to win hearts and minds and things like that. And the folks in the fake, in this industry basically go out and use those tactics. Use that. In the propaganda industry, use those tactics to create sock puppet accounts, things like that, and to activate groups of socially, active, the folks, people with the pitchforks and torches to
I know,
to get them going.
The one that blew my mind, because I still can't connect how it worked the way it did, was the findings that it was Russian trolls behind most of the Black Lives Matters social stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I can't connect how that, unless it was a different set of Russian hackers than what was I guess allegedly still promoting Trump.
Right.
I don't understand how stirring up that pot.
Oh, yeah, I got a theory on it. I think the fundamental activity on the Russian side was just to create chaos, right? To activate the extremes on both sides, so you wind up fighting each other.
I mean, it's pretty
right?
brilliant. I mean, if you think about it from a tactical perspective, to realize that was going to be like an explosive thing to go after to really push a movement, it's really smart.
Well,
I mean, it's horrible. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me calling it smart as
right. To achieve their ends.
Like you're talking some serious, there's some really smart people behind all that.
Right. Yeah. Using it well, and it's like any technology, right? Any technology can be used for good. It can be used for evil, right? Yep. And if you're going to sow discord and things like that, that's the whole And that's, we started off before you came on, Ed, talking about, Facebook. That's what Facebook could, has the potential to be one of the greatest, most unifying, get people together sort of thing. But when you have groups who start weaponizing it, that's a problem.
So this is the thing, like everyone needs to understand, anything that is human run is corrupted.
Yeah.
So you have to go into it understanding that, okay, there's good, but it will be bad as well. In anything that's run by humans, it will eventually, if not immediately, be corrupted.
Right. Yeah, and the big question is, from a governance standpoint, either government regulation, right, or some sort of societal oversight, or internally for those organizations. How do you fix that, right? Because again, with Facebook, they've got a lot of smart people on their board of directors. They've been around the block. Yes, they also have a situation where Zuckerberg has extraordinary voting rights and complete power over the situation. But again, the thing's making money. They're getting returns on investment. Everything is working as planned from a shareholder perspective. Yep. And, are they doing some stuff here or there? Nah, that's okay, right? Nobody's getting hurt. So let's just keep doing it until it's like, oh, crap, that's kind of, that's not good. Oops. So you can, in retrospect,
although
it's
in this latest,
they should have shut it down, right?
In this latest issue, I have to ask, what was the damage done? Like, to exposing images like that you had on Facebook, what damage was done is what I don't understand.
A lot of it was it was the insiders for Microsoft, Netflix, Spotify, and some of those, where it was basically the friends data, right? So they could get very strong signals.
Yeah, but that's the old issue. Like, that's the same issue that was previous. Like, I'm talking about in the latest aha that kind of piled on was about how Facebook mistakenly gave access to the imagery that you had put in Facebook.
I think that was an actual, but I think that was unintentional, though.
But my point is like, was this the media just piling on trying to create more shit for Facebook, or was there any actual damage caused by that?
Anytime, go back to an old adage that I had. It's like, anytime you don't know why somebody's asking you a question, then that's the biggest question to worry about. Okay, lawyers don't ask questions about what they want to discover. They're asking questions to affirm what they know. When people ask you for data and you don't know why, that's the word to worry about, because they have a purpose for what they want. It's the fact you don't know it is the most concerning thing. Not knowing why they got pictures. I don't think they just grabbed them because they could. They had a reason why they wanted this particular data. The fact that we don't know what that reason is more disconcerting to me, because it has a purpose somewhere. I mean,
yeah, but again, like you saw on my emails last night, I think this is turning into a Volkswagen Dieselgate thing. I think the floodgates are kind of just being pushed on Facebook. Facebook's going to take the beating, and then Google, Amazon, like all these other players are going to come out and be like, "Oh, yeah, we were doing that too. We didn't realize it was bad."
Like I said, we did an email string, and we can share some of our dialogue back and forth. It was kind of fun. But the aspect of somebody walks with a pile of money and says, "Hi, I'd like a little bit more than the average bare access of data," and it's like, "Here's the money to give it to you to do that." Okay, this is a publicly traded for-profit company. Yeah, we'll take your money, and since it's not against the law currently, we'll give you that data. And then now it's against the law. Oopsie, we better, that happened, but we made a lot of money.
Right, and it was legal. And it was legal.
Right.
And honestly, it was ethical. And you want to know why it was ethical? Because you as a user of the platform agreed to that arrangement that they could sell what they know about you.
Right.
Just because you didn't take the time to be thoughtful about what that could mean, ethically, that's on you. Like, if you don't read the terms of services, if you don't understand what the things around you are doing, you should. I'm sorry, it's Darwinism at its finest. I mean, you're looking for my wife. I'm going to out for just a second. We'll be right back. Right back.
Yeah, no, and that's the problem. It's all these unintended consequences, right? So, I mean,
well, Facebook intended. They wanted to make money off of all the different benefits that come from bringing people together. Included in those benefits there are companies who will find this valuable, and they're going to do things with it. And Facebook knew that and informed their users in their user agreement that using our platform, we're going to make money by selling access
Right.
to you.
And they made their platform highly addictive. They created value. It was, a very low cost. It served a basic human need for belonging to communities. Did all, and again, they had very intelligent PhDs working on this to make it as addictive and valuable as possible. And they've reaped the benefit. I mean, what's their market cap's over 500 billion? Yeah, well over 5. Well, maybe not. It may have dipped down. We'd have to go check. But they created.
They keep getting their butt kicked on the market every time something new news-wise comes out.
Yeah, but the real question is when these things, get used for ugly purposes. Yes, I think in certain cases they can control hate speech in paid advertising, right? That's okay. But I don't think that much of the hate speech was really happening in paid advertising, right? It was
in the organic
news story. It was all on the organic of a bunch of sock puppeted accounts that aren't real. And that's where I think you really get to the genesis of it is how do you make sure it's a real person? Right. That's really hard.
How do you create the safety nets that, okay, we now see probably should exist without completely infringing on people's rights to express their thoughts and ideas?
That's right. Because to prove that you're you have to provide a vast amount of personal information.
Valuable data.
Right. And so the question is, who is that? Is it the government? Oh, no, we don't trust the government.
No, they wouldn't do it. Because the government will do, like, if they see a way to benefit from misusing this data, they will. So that's the other funny thing about the government getting upset about Facebook correctly using the data as agreed. Okay, like they did what was agreed and it wasn't illegal.
Right.
You can't make a stink about that when our own government abuses its access to data on a regular basis.
Right. And that was the Snowden stuff, which, yes, Snowden's methods of releasing it, things like that, you go, he should have done it another way, but if he did it another way, it may not have ever seen the light of day. Right, very, very realistically. But his problem, but that program, but that was an anti-terrorism program, right?
Right.
So they're saying, okay, we're targeting these things, and yes, terrorists outside the country may be talking to U.S. citizens in the country. That is an issue, and that's probably one of
the difference.
The things that is bad, right?
Facebook at least publishes what the deal is, where our government, on the other hand, just makes reasons to violate to violate your privacy and creatively use it in ways that are not within the tenor of relationship that they currently
and I think honestly the program was probably started up by saying we're going to vacuum all of this data up, but don't worry about it. We're going to use it for good, right? And we have courts and we've got all sorts of things to do it. And then the creepy line starts to move because the problem with the creepy line is every individual person has a creepy line. And they're willing to do the trade-off between that personal privacy and the effectiveness of the objective, which in some cases, like avoiding terrorism, is a noble objective. I don't think there are a lot of, there are some
However, as we all
actually, I don't even think terrorists are pro-terrorist because most of them look at themselves as going, we're not terrorists, we're fighting against the whatever cause.
The terrorists,
we're fighting against those guys, right? It's all perspective-based. So that's a real, who's making these decisions? And I don't know. These are hard questions.
And this is why I constantly say, to anyone who will listen, that you need to understand what's happening with the things around you, so at least you're making informed decisions on the risks you take with everything that you're doing. You need to understand that your Amazon Echo is spying on you. Like, just understand that. You need to understand that, all your phone conversations are being logged somehow, some way, and eventually, are being used for some reason. You need to understand that anything you publish on the internet, even in private mode, ultimately you should treat it as if it's public, because eventually you will find out that more people than you intended, whether it be the businesses you loaded it with or whatever, there's no such thing as private on the internet. And you need to understand these things, or don't care, but then continue to not
incognito
care.
mode. Yeah.
Right. Continue
Guys,
to not
incognito
care.
mode from your particular unique IP address is not that incognito from your home IP address. But imagine the number of people who don't realize that, and God knows what they're doing, and if that data winds up, through whatever method of being released, perhaps by a political foe, a business foe, just the crabby next door neighbor.
That's why when I go to my dark web links, I use VPN.
That doesn't matter. Now, it's, I don't know if you guys have read the different Reddit things on that, but most of the dark websites are being controlled by governments trying to uncover the people who are trying to do bad things on the dark web.
Yeah. And for those people, just because we're off on a tangent, not talking about hospitality, is dark web is IP addresses, or next to me IP address. Oh yeah, actually, it's specific addresses that you go to. They're not necessarily web designations that you have to know and know the key to get in. And then at that point, you're into a wonderful world of stuff that you never really wanted to know was in there. But yeah, besides that,
actually, there's one thing on that. It's basically also the deep web, right? Because everything that you see, even with a company, I'll use airlines as an example. Google paid $850–900 million for ITA software. Why? Well, you had all these kind of published airfares before ITA was around, but it was only like from a hub to a spoke and things like that. What did ITA do? It had that deep data of all these different segments of where all these planes are going, and since they had that really deep unpublished data, all of a sudden they could create new combinations of stuff and go, oh, you can book things between airlines, or this one's connecting instead of from Houston to Newark. If you connect in Raleigh, you can save $200. Who knew?
And I'm glad you brought that up, because going back to your first article, second item, Google, when they're talking about netting the stuff that they've netted together, the hotels, the flights, the travel experiences into a single platform, not being able to use the same data in all of them, not having to reinstitute the data. One of the conversations I had on a sidebar with somebody else, which was a company that's doing mapping data. Now, people may not be, and this is a quick little tangent off of the same thing, that when you use a Google map on your website and say, here, this is where we're located, as soon as that map gets used, Google takes it over. And now they show everything that Google wants to show. You've literally taken the guest out of the website, and now Google's showing them your competitors, other information you didn't imply for them to have, so forth. So the only other thing you can do is to create your own custom map. But the problem with that is your consumer feels like they're being limited or guided as to the data that they're being shown, and they don't like that. They like to know what's going on. So he's a platform that's coming in outside, wanting to get into hospitality, that the map is a full map. It just you can keep track of what the guest is looking for while they go through the process. That being said, when it comes to Google and the combinations, there was a discussion I had with him that knowing these flight connections, we always get stuck on branding. Like, okay, if I'm flying American Airlines and I got to go through their hub in Dallas and I got to take another American Airlines. And he's saying, if you have the right combination of information like Google has, to your point, Robert, I can be exposed to the fact that if I fly this leg on this airline, that leg on that airline, I'm not spending more money to do it. I can do it cheaper because I know that information now where I didn't. And Google has that ability. Google has that ability to say, you don't have to stay brand loyal to make the connection between here and Spokane through Dallas. Right. Shit, I can drop you over in Houston and have you grab a United there, and then have you take Delta over here or whatever, and be cheaper because they know that information.
And anyone who knows better, like, you should always check the difference in cost between one-ways and round trips, because more often than not, booking a different one-ways with different airlines is ultimately going to be cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
At least I find in my travels.
It depends, but yeah.
I find it. The only problem that you have to do is be prepared for TSA to do proper cavity searches, because if you're doing a one-way with no return on a single link,
I'm pre-check. TSA doesn't care. They're like, oh, we know you, Mr. StOnge. We have all your private information. Thanks for donating that to the government.
Okay. I'm also pre-check, but I'm the geek that has so much technology in the bag. They're like,
well, to be fair, the stuff you carry, I think the people designed it to troll their customers, because they're like, this looks dangerous. let's make this something we know our customers will travel
Let's
with.
make this in the shape of a whatever. Yeah. That's what I usually have for it. But
yep.
So why do you think Airbnb is at the top of this list?
I think that they are doing some very.
Robert, I mean, so we're talking about PhocusWire's newsmakers. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they are doing some very interesting, disruptive things and being very transparent about it. Basically, coming out and saying that the online travel agencies are their major competitor at this point.
They've always
been. Oh no, they always have been, but they never were really called out.
Why would you call out your major competitors when your major competitors aren't realizing that?
Oh no, I realize that. Yeah.
I mean, Airbnb definitely benefited. Airbnb definitely benefited from the misunderstanding that the hotel industry had about what Airbnb's competitors were. They benefited greatly from that. So yeah, now that that's kind of at least better understood, of course, call out Expedia and Booking.com, because first of all, you're working towards trying to go public. So let's go ahead and pick comparables for the market to understand that are actually your comparables.
Comparables who have better margins, are bigger, larger market caps, all that sort of thing makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so now of course it makes sense that they're calling out their competitors. It's so the market better understands how to price them when they eventually head to their IPO.
Yeah, and I think my gut feeling is their IPO will be very successful, and their management team, unlike Facebook's management team, I think kind of gets it, right? I mean, they are looking at all this data, because they do have. Airbnb is not a simple business, right? And yes, they've had, especially in the early days, they took some missteps because they weren't prepared for how the technology could be used for bad things, right? But now they are all over that and ahead of it and testing it. Now, not that bad things won't happen, but I think they've been kind of taking the ethical high road. I think they've similar to Apple, right? Where they've kind of.
Well, the difference is their product isn't the people.
Right.
So they understand that's their customer. So of course they're taking the ethical high road because their customers care about that.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, that's like a key differentiator. Facebook, the user is the product. Their customer are the advertisers.
Exactly.
So Facebook, it's not that they don't get it. I think it's that everyone who uses it doesn't get who you are in the equation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. You are the product. As Lauren said before, what is Soylent Green?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. You have to say spoiler alert.
Have we gotten
Lauren.
to Marriott's redesign of their hotels and how they came about doing that?
No bathroom?
We have not.
So
wait, just before we wrap it, so how would you rank these articles, Lauren? You'd put Marriott number 1?
No, I'd put Google number 1. I really would. I'd put Google number 1, Marriott 2, Airbnb 3.
Okay.
I would drop Airbnb down a little bit.
So were these the top 3? They just got the order wrong, or did they miss?
I actually
are we nitpicking?
No. I will let Kevin know that you disagree.
Would you please? Yeah.
What do you mean? He doesn't watch this show?
What?
He's watching right now. Yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Kevin is probably working on his Depeche Mode book right now.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know if I would add an outside resource. I would put GDPR in there potentially as another contender to the idea. That's kind of the result of kind of a combination of several of those things as a possible contender for major newsworthy disruptions for the year, because it was dropped, but it didn't really hit the impact until Marriott made it a reason to be impactful.
And I can tell you, I bet you hotel owners would sit here and talk about the web ADA standards, because it seems like everyone's getting sued now on that.
Everybody's being chased.
And it doesn't seem to be getting a ton of media coverage.
Right. Which is, I mean, and you know what it is? It's kind of like it's unfortunately it's like an assault case. The victim as well as the assaulter doesn't want anybody to know about, because the hotels don't want to know that they're pursued for it, even though they're not in any problem for it. They just. Right. They people to understand what we're talking about, there was a regulation coming from the Obama era that was to define the minimum standard efforts to be ADA compliant online, your website's engagement with those that have special navigation needs. And a very worthy cause, totally for having this happen. But there was no established minimum to it. The Trump administration, in their pursuit of destroying anything that begins with an O, took them just pause that. So what that meant was any action that didn't match the ADA requirement was pursuable legally as a violation of the standard. So for it to be totally 100% compliant so that you can bring your unicorn on the plane, so to speak, it had to be a white background, black letter, talks to yourself, totally navigable technology-wise site. Well, all websites can't be that way. That's appeasing one small minority to a large majority that would not like it. So a lot of hotels, lawyers were going out there getting free money. They're still getting free money. They just get a whole cluster of hotels going, yeah, this is all wrong. We're going to sue you. Oh, tell you what, pay us and we'll settle that we're not going to sue you. And so the hotels just pay because they don't want to go through the risk of then being caught with, paying all the legals and the additional costs and so on. So they just pay the blood money so that these vultures go away.
Yep.
Everybody's getting dragged into this. It reminds me back in 01 when the ADA compliance for the buildings came into play, and you'd have a lawyer who didn't need a wheelchair run into your hotel and slam into walls saying that there was no access for the wheelchair, and I'm going to sue you unless you pay me money to go away.
Yeah, except now it's even easy. Now it's even easier. You don't even have to show up at the hotel. You
don't have to go there. Yeah, there's no travel expense.
Scare them.
You don't have to hire. You don't have to hire an actor to go do it for you.
It's just free money, and everybody's getting chased. Everybody's getting, and it's not the size of the hotel, the brand of nothing. It's everybody, and it's just free money. Lawyers are just cashing. They're cashing checks, and they're not trying to fix anything. It's not as if their website's wrong. Now that said, if you should, and there's a website called Wave. I'll put it in the show notes again. That you can take your website and throw it in there to see really where the limitations are to your website. You want your site to be compliant. You want to make sure that these guests can get to the information they need. This is not.
So do you think that service is waiting 60 days, rechecking, and then if you haven't made the moves, is just now selling that list to these lawyers?
Who knows, right?
That would be so evil. It's like, here's a service to help you understand if you're compliant, and then it waits, and then it checks you again in a reasonable amount of time, and then sells your name to one of those lawyers.
but again, all those things like alt tags and things like that, which are very, very important, right, for accessibility, are also now very important as signals for Google just for organic search ranking, right? Those are. You've got an image. Hey, here's what it's
to do this.
About.
Right.
Yeah. It helps you. It's a good thing to do this stuff the right way.
Yeah, this isn't a bad. The reason to do it is good, and the value to doing it is good. It's these carpetbagging lawyers that are cashing free money checks that aren't to solve anything. That's the bad part. Okay.
Right.
No, they're just taking advantage of.
They're taking advantage of they found a loophole, and it's like, okay.
As a rule of thumb, if anybody that's listening to the show that has control over their website or has an influence on how their website is operating, and this is brand included, go try to book and there's the Wave site actually has a link that you can act like you can't visually see the website, so it has to follow what's called keyboard control. Wave, I have to go pull the link up. Okay. It's a website check. What it does is called keyboard access. You without using a mouse, because visually, remember, you have to be able to see to use a mouse. Okay.
Right.
Using a keyboard, can you navigate through what's being said in what's called a voice controlled? It'll read the alt text, the images, or what the links do. And can you book your own ADA compliant room through your booking engine on your website without visually having to see the site to do it? If you can't do that.
Let me make it easy for any of those. If it's Flash based, you can't.
You can't. You're not even close to doing it. If you have a Flash website,
it's amazing. If it's Flash based, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah,
you've been doing it wrong.
You've been doing it wrong, but you're consistent.
How are you getting customers? Is it because they live next door and they walk across the street? Come on.
You've been doing a lot of things wrong if you have a Flash based website.
Well, and again. Actually, my daughter wound up with one where, boy, talk about a phishing scheme with a faux page for a Flash install program. She goes, wow, look at this. And again, I was proud. She was aware enough to look, to figure it out. And I looked at it. It was good. It was really really well done, and it was just, the URL tipped you off, but it looked absolutely, legit Adobe. I need to go do this to show my Flash page, which now pops up almost every time, because, and again, for these guys who are doing this, this is a new opportunity because they're trying to protect you from these Flash sites. So it's not just embedded in the browser the way it was before. You now have to download an extension. And if you don't know, and now people are getting trained to go, I mean, it's in the Windows operating system. It goes, hey, this isn't in the Windows web store. Are you sure you want to download this app, right? Because they're taking the kind of the app store type approach to it. People don't know. They just go, yeah, install it. Because most of them pop up and say, install it. So, again... Watch out.
So can we talk about Marriott redesigning their rooms?
I'm going to link from Marriott right now.
I have an important question to ask someone from Marriott. So is this now going to be applied in hotels, like hotel-wide? Because I will say, getting rid of bathtubs, you get rid of families.
Right.
Because small children need to be washed in bathtubs. And it was the first thing that stuck out to me, like that, holy smokes, like no bathtubs means you can't bring a 2-year-old to stay at any of these hotels that don't have bathtubs.
Because they're looking at millennials who don't have kids and they aren't taking into
They will. You're building a piece of real estate.
They will. Right.
You're building a piece of real estate that is going to be more than the next 2 years. Like, so have some.
Well, now in Marriott's world, they're going to just cause you to redo the FF&E in 2 years anyway. So if they're wrong, 2 years later, they're going to make you put bathtubs back in.
Yeah. The other reason I put this
rooms that solve that is ADA compliant rooms that have the lower shower head that have a hose on it. That's the only other rooms that you can use a family for. Because and you think about this, and
even that shower miserable.
Well, no, and the ADA ones probably have roll-in showers, right?
Yeah, but they also have a lower shower. They usually have a shower with a hose to it. So you can disconnect it. But standard showers, even with hoses, can't be done because the hose isn't long enough.
Right.
So it's a terrible, terrible mistake. Terrible mistake.
Well, no, listen, you can't tell from this. Like, obviously, I can't imagine that. They easily made the decision to eliminate bathtubs completely from every hotel room inside of a hotel. They have to understand that there's a reason bathtubs existed. And that means they are appealing to someone like, I don't know, families.
Or in suites where they're deep soaking tubs or something like that. Where it's very luxurious.
Yes, sure. Just no jets. No jets, okay? Gross. And then
cleaning those jets is so easy, Ed.
So here's my question. Like, was it not known that people like natural light?
Yeah, I know. This actually, I included this because this is fundamentally a fluff piece, because it really doesn't talk about anything about it. It basically starts talking about a TED article, which when you look at this writer is an arts contributor who wrote about the Marriott TED thing. This is, I think, Marriott's effectively gotten through a PR campaign has gotten a writer to write kind of fluff pieces about them, right? And
but it's amazing because all right, so natural light.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like natural light? Do you think even hotel designers don't sit here and go, getting natural lighting would be really good to do, but there's going to be a couple of rooms that don't get a great amount of natural light, so that happens.
Well, natural light with blackout curtains, right?
Of course. But and then juice shots. Like, so really, here's what happened. I think Laura, our contributor here, saw that Marriott had juice shots, and she's like, I need to name something else they did besides juice shots. All right, they got rid of bathtubs, and they realized people want natural light.
Yeah, well, and the kind of the communal spaces for working things like that. But again, what's interesting is that a redesigned Marriott room, they talk in the article about not needing a desk. Well, look at the picture. There's a pretty good sized desk in there, right? So you kind of
I'm sorry, I love the desk. Where are you supposed to eat room service?
So do I. Oh no, yeah, and a lot of them are getting rid of. Well, they've gotten rid of room service and they've gotten rid of the desks, and now people are sitting on their beds to work, which is a crappy situation for their backs and everything else.
They want you to go down to their lobby and socialize and communalize and interact and engage, and not staying in your.
They want you sitting
tidy
next
whitey.
to people. They want you sitting next to people, but not talking directly to them.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And getting juice shots from the barista that doesn't know how to spell barista.
How do we distribute less product but get a premium for it? Let's just call it a shot. Okay, here's your juice shot.
Yeah, I always thought, actually, who was it? P.F. Chang's, I think, was probably the first one who figured that out, where they had like these little micro desserts, and instead of paying whatever $6 for your hunk of cheesecake or whatever, they could sell for like $3 in a shot glass, right?
Yep. Yeah, seasons 52 is
so we're talking a little bit about peeves at this point. Let's go food and beverage. I love the fact that the food and beverage departments want to be creative with their food and their types of
beverage.
Food, and their beverage. Okay, but what happens is, and I don't think the kitchen knows this, or they're not aware that when the guest walks up to a display of things and they're artistically designed things, the description of what the item is inane. It's just, there's no lobster. What part's lobster? Is it the puree, the piece, the accent, the what? And also, and there are allergies in the world. I don't have any that I have to worry about, but for those that do have them, there's no complete description, even in the words that are flowery, to say what this is. An ensemble of reduction of such and such with the blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Just tell me what it is so I don't put it in my mouth going, oh, come here, and you got to walk off because it wasn't exactly what you thought it was. I can't tell you how many times I see people that walk up and you have a more basic display that's very straightforward. Pigs in a blanket. And they're like, oh God, pigs in a blanket. I love those things,
You can't tell me you know what the ingredients are in a pig.
But this is everyone trying to find purpose in the mundane.
Right.
I mean, you see it all the time, and it is annoying, especially someone like me, where I'll eat most things. However, I do not like cheese and I do not like peanuts. So therefore, I will eat most things unless they have cheese or peanuts in them.
Now, just peanuts or
any product that comes from peanuts. So peanut butter, peanuts, but I like almonds, I like walnuts, I like all of that. I have a very nasty reaction to peanuts. And cheese, so I have a very sensitive sense of smell and a sensitive palate. So I can't stand eating anything that's fermented. To me, it just smells like garbage, tastes like garbage. So most cheeses to me smell like garbage, taste like garbage. So when you do something where the main ingredient is left out of the description and I put it in my mouth and it's, got gorgonzola in it, it annoys me to no end.
Now, does this absence of fermented products also apply to liquid beverages?
I don't have a problem. No, because a lot of times they're not.
The alcohol counters that, so it's not a problem.
No, actually, I mean, there are certain wines I have a hard time with. Yeah, absolutely, because it's actually got a slightly rotten flavor to it. But sour cream I can't do.
Yeah.
At all. I can't even stand the smell of it. Yeah. So anyway, so I'm not a picky eater except for those two main ingredients, which tend to be heavily used. So I get annoyed when the description leaves out a primary ingredient like peanuts or peanut butter or cheese. So
the deep fried peanut butter mozzarella sticks aren't a
damn. I was going to be sending me some care packages out, but I guess I got to take that off that list.
Yeah.
The hunk and gorgonzola.
I forgot that they're bacon wrapped though. Now, if they wrap it in bacon, it doesn't work for them?
No, and I can't do.
They'll eat anything if you wrap it in bacon.
Like kimchi, I can't do kimchi either. That fermented.
Yeah.
I can't eat rotten food. Is basically the problem I have with cheese.
Don't go to Korea. It's with
way,
everything. Kimchi is with everything. It's
I know. So anyway, so let's go on to something that's not a fluff piece by Marriott.
Yeah, pick something meaty.
But anyway, this was to redo. I did like the one thing that Marriott apparently acknowledged at Starwood, or that Sheraton was tired. So you went, good for them.
Do they?
Thank you, Mr. Obvious.
Is Captain Obvious now working for them?
Yes, Captain Obvious
from Hotels.com.
Yes.
That's right.
So, very quick question: what do you think about Chip Rogers taking over AHLA? Coming from
I don't know
AHLA
Chip.
over to
Yeah, I have no.
I think I don't know his background, but I don't think he was necessarily like a career lobbyist, which was kind of Catherine Luger's background. So
Isn't that what
if
AHLA basically does? Is lobby?
it is basically that. But I
Right.
think that,
so is AHLA. AHLA is a basic lobby platform as well. They spend a boatload of money and time on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, where was he before?
AHLA. He was the president of AHLA.
Oh yeah.
Well, then that makes sense that he would go.
Yeah.
Where was
he
before
casted
AHLA?
I mean, if you look at his numbers that they were touting when he did the transition, he grew them financially. He grew them membership-wise. He grew them in yieldability. He grew them in influence on the lobbyist side of things. He was a tour de force when it came to putting AHLA in a very strong position. I was very surprised that AHLA didn't somehow counter to keep him around, because he's been nothing but positive on their stuff. Maybe AHLA was just a challenge for him or something. But Catherine. I mean, Catherine was fun. She's been a friend for a while, and it's just it's interesting that if he brings over what he was doing at AHLA, that organization is going to get longer, sharper teeth, I think.
And so he had a background in broadcasting and politics.
Politics, yeah. He was a majority leader in Carolina, Georgia, somewhere. I forget.
Georgia, yeah. That's interesting. Okay. So, but he did that. So I think it's good that he wasn't where, I think Catherine was more of like the career lobbyist, right? Like, give me a cause and I will work up kind of the processes, as opposed to being more invested in the industry. But I don't know. I always got sense that he was really doing a good job. So I think it's probably good for AHLA, because I think Catherine got on the wrong side of some of these issues, like the whole thing with the alternative accommodation, the kill it with fire approach. I think was just very ill-conceived strategy from the beginning, and set the hotel industry back. They should have been talking about affordable housing and gone that direction, and hotel employees and all this stuff, having affordable places for them to live, and there was a whole narrative that they just ignored.
From a local side of view, down on Fort Myers Beach, the Margaritaville is going to be built there, and it's under a lot of public scrutiny because a lot of people were against the large footprint that it would take. And Fort Myers Beach, for those who have never visited down here, is a huge tourist destination for down here, and it usually during season takes 2 hours just to get across the bridge to get to the island, kind of thing. Well, this hotel is going to be making this huge footprint on their Margaritaville. As a part of what they're building a whole nother section of affordable housing for its staff, literally on the island with it.
Yeah.
First time I saw
That's
as
great.
a part of the initial creative process and addressing to the issue of, you can build it, but if nobody's there to run it, you can't do anything with it. So they're like, and it's a really unique way. It's common areas with rooms. So there's single and double occupant rooms, but a common area kitchen, common area restrooms, common area space. It's an interesting concept, I thought, but it was nice that they're addressing it. And technically, they have enough housing over there to run the hotel. So, kudos to them. Yeah,
that's great. No, that they took the traditional offshore hotel, resort type thing, where very often you do have to provide employee housing. So that's great.
Yep.
Good.
Anyways, what are the topic you want to grab?
I don't know.
More garbage from influencers. I mean, it's the same story, just a different angle. Business travel spend, that wasn't that juicy, I didn't think. Hey, how about NVIDIA's scary AI generates humans that look 100% real?
Yeah, we discussed that a little bit earlier.
You already did
but
it?
It's,
okay.
Well, no, that's okay. But yeah, I think the NVIDIA, I haven't posted the link, but the NVIDIA thing is crazy, because again, tracking down fake people and fake news is going to be very, very difficult. The other thing, though, for marketers, boy, when you're looking for some sort of combination demographic person, you now don't need models. You can just go create your own, send somebody into the room. Yeah, and actually, if you can have employees who know how to stand properly, you may be able to regenerate their face to
Hey, I got a question.
I don't know.
I have a question. If you could only hire one person and you're running a hotel,
Lauren Gray.
would it be
Tim Peter.
For marketing.
Oh,
for marketing. For marketing.
Stuart Butler.
No, yeah, of course, obviously Stuart, but that's, not everybody can have Stuart, so we got to, there.
You said if I could only hire one person.
One person.
For marketing.
Right.
Skill set wise, that either does good paid advertising, a good SEM person, a good SEO person, a good CRM person, or a good social person. Which one would you hire first if you could only hire one?
I'd say SEO.
Yeah.
Because
better
that gets to your
value.
whole structured content of what is being presented, and you have to have money for SEM.
Well, in order for them to do the things that they would do to make SEO successful, would also fix a ton of other things for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's the least in concept. It's out of the four the least grossing revenue generator. It's the long-term value generator.
I disagree with that. Again, so I think one of the things that get hotels in trouble constantly is they try to apply short-sighted, quick turnaround goals to what should be very long thought processes of strategy. So in all of those things, so your CRM person, let's say, sure, will that person be able to turn around and put some flashy numbers in front of you? Yes, but what they won't be telling you is how much of the database they burned permanently to get you those numbers, where ultimately long-term, they're going to choke that as a channel for you if they're not doing it well. Search engine marketing people, they can throw up vanity metrics all day to meet your goals, and again, may give you tiny little pops here and there, but again, if they're not doing it as a long term, you're going to overspend in that area. So I mean, when you're talking about your reasoning for disliking it is that the one we picked is the longer burn, it's also the foundational work.
Right.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
It's basically kind of your capital investment spend for that foundation, because then you can start. And if it's like a house, if your foundation's bad, good luck building all the other stuff. Hey, that's a beautiful place, but you're going to run into maintenance issues. It's going to fall apart. Stuff isn't going to work.
Do you think websites are going to go the way phones do for millennials, in the sense that it's not the first choice of engagement, that it will be a social platform engagement, it will be what's put in front of their faces?
I don't think it's millennials. I think it's design.
I'm not saying it's contrast to millennials. Millennials don't really tend to use the phone. They text first. Phone they do use, but it's only not their first choice.
You're saying the actual telephony, right? Yeah.
That our website's going to go that way. That websites aren't the first choice of discovery. That other things are the first choice of discovery. Websites are just the other.
I think it all depends on if you continue putting out crappy websites, then yes.
Yeah.
But a good website will be attractive to be used, and if like enough businesses start realizing that putting out a good website experience is like tantamount to customer service, then you can avoid that happening. But yeah, at the pace that we're going, I don't believe websites as they exist today will exist this way in the next 10 years.
Because, I mean, not to get so philosophically waning, but as we keep talking about the Facebooks and everybody else and their sharing of data, the purpose of the data, as we all know, sharing is to create that individuality of content specific to that interest. And we as a culture are slowly learning that unless it's in front of me, I don't really care. We're tailoring we're making our bubbles.
Right.
And so because of that,
that always existed.
But that's the whole. But that's the whole. I was having a conversation earlier this week with somebody. It's basically that site architecture, understanding the navigational paths based on personas and use cases for all of these people, and how that whole and then ties into your campaign management, and all of that stuff has to work together. And if it doesn't, what happens now, right? Somebody puts in, and people have analytics. They've searched the website, they've put in 2 adults and 2 children. Well, boy, I hope somewhere something flags that as that could perhaps be a family persona. Because then they're doing retargeting and God knows what. They pop into the booking engine and there's no family imagery. There's nothing, it's just this generic sort of thing.
That's everywhere.
That appeals.
But that, like, even the basics of that.
Right?
Yep. Yeah. And so, Yes, if the industry
So that's what's going to change. I don't know if that's a website or apps or on social things, but I look at it, you need those core resources organized in some manner that you control. And it's not just out on Facebook and having a Facebook page where it's kind of a shared resource of,
if I
are you really controlling who's on that page and what else is popping up in the margins?
So if I would add to that initial list, if I would add to that initial list of SEO, SEM, and so forth, a data scientist, would you still hold that SEO is still the first choice?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at least, because you're
quality data,
right?
Worthless without quality data.
Okay.
Now, if the data scientist can help the SEO guy figure out, and the SEM guy doing the campaigns and all this stuff, to go, hey, let's make sure this is tagged properly and these signals are doing it so we can use this more effectively, that's great. But if you can only pick one, right, you've got your 1 to N list, you only have enough money for one, I think you got to go for your basic architecture.
So if you were to put them into a sequence, if you could hire them sequentially, SEO first, who would be your next pick?
CRM.
CRM.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you've now solved for traffic and fundamental basics of conversion. Yep. So we all know you're not going to convert everyone on the first attempt. So CRM, you'll at least stand a better chance of long-term converting more of the traffic.
Yeah,
that's coming in.
Try to get them to register for the new. Yeah, I mean they're going to be focused on how do you register and engage these guys.
Yep. Communication with the people that you're dealing with. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And then I'd go paid from there, because then you have your good basics, you have your ability to convert more than just the end transaction. So now you can start weaving in paid, and then over that, I mean, who else besides the data scientist did you list?
Social.
Data scientist.
It's now torn from the flip to. Wait a second. No.
I wasn't torn. I forgot that you mentioned it because I don't think that's the last person.
Right.
So data scientist, and then from there, if none of those other people can handle understanding what a channel is, and you have to hire a social person, hire a social person. Yeah. But I mean, I don't think you do. You don't need to.
So why is none of this in an article? I mean, honestly, we hear people talk about the value propositions of any of these individually, and you get a lot of people that blow a lot of content out in the space. And I'm talking about the obvious players in the world.
Yeah, but all their content is self-serving, so no one is aligned to the point where they feel like it needs to be discussed in that way under that light. Because the bottom line is, first of all, a good SEO person. It's already the problem starting there, because if that's your first hire, that means you probably have no one who understands if they're any good hiring them. So, and to also be clear, I don't think a hotel should have a data scientist. Your revenue manager can be your data scientist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They at least understand the basics.
Yeah, you need someone who can tie in the analytics and make sure that you have these threads. Like
your revenue manager.
Hey, Google. Yeah, it isn't just like the SEO person.
Did Google just respond to you?
No. I don't know. It just said that I'm having problems with my Google Home falling off of my my network for some reason.
Oh, because you don't have the Google Wi-Fi, do you?
Like Google Fi? No,
I've got Google Wi-Fi. They have like the mesh Wi-Fi network.
Right. No, I do not have the Google Mesh Wi-Fi.
That's why
network.
it keeps falling off,
man. So sure. Again, I think some of the backwardsness of all this. The reason why I bring it up, one, I think it's an interesting sequence that should be brought into market, is to lose the vanity aspect, because I think the vanity of the ownership or the management core pushes in the wrong direction. Takes what you just said, Ed, and then puts it up on its head. They remember the old adage when we used to have photos and so forth that we always had to have a picture of the porte-cochere. We always had a picture of.
Why do you say that like that's past tense? That's still
the standard.
And it's
or the exterior shot, or maybe you can't
the exterior shot, because ownership likes seeing where they put their money. and it has no value proposition to the actual.
Actually, I disagree. I think the exterior shot is strong. I mean, especially if you've gone through the effort of making an interesting looking building, that's one of the things that will draw people in.
If there's a value proposition, I'm not disagreeing with you, but in general, a square box on the side of the road between point A and C, not a real big sell point for me. Other than I might see if it's really old or really new.
Well, you figure out if it's brick, glass, or whatever, or wood.
So what I think also that same influence of thought goes into why they take the list that we just put together in the sequence we did and puts it up in the head and they go find a social person because one, affordability or not, they like to see them. Like usually these questions come from the owner called me and they want to know why they didn't see me in the Google results when they typed or when they went into their map and they didn't see a pin when they went over and went on Facebook and they don't see anything about us. You know, we need somebody to put that stuff out there. You know, find somebody, and then usually what happens is property fund.
Actually, I have a funny story about that. I was in a meeting with a pretty big hotel owner, like he owns a very large company, and it's his executive team and myself, and we venture off into targeted advertising and targeting audiences and stuff like that. And he goes, I don't understand why I don't see any of our ads. And one of those executives go, because you're a billionaire. Like we're not targeting you.
Yeah, you are our target market. Yeah,
yeah, you're
staying at the Waldorf or the Ritz or the wherever.
Yeah. But it's funny that I don't think enough, and I don't even think it's owners that are the only ones guilty of that. I think most people misunderstand their audience. I hear it all the time when I talk to marketing people in this space, where they completely are wrong about who their audience is and what their audience wants. Like I deal with that all the time, especially in the luxury sector. They all think they're
jet
Saudi
setter.
princes.
It's super high, and it's like what percentage? Oh, it's 1% of your business.
Not just that, you're getting it because there were no higher end choices than you.
Exactly.
So they're not drawn to you. You were the only option at your ADR. But I have news for you: someone who comes in on a private jet. Like they're not excited about an $800 a night room. Like there's nothing about that makes them think, ooh, this is splurging. Like it's
and the loyalty relationship is non-existent to them. They might be lucky to remember where they stayed the next week.
Right. You are to them what a Days Inn is to a $300,000 a year earner. Right. It's your shelter.
Yeah.
Right.
But again, if you can make them loyal by treating them special and by producing, which is very difficult in the luxury space, the stuff that they really need and working on their terms, so their advanced team, all those folks can make that work.
Yep.
That's really good. That's really good.
That's not an $800 a night hotel. That's going that's successful at that level of now. Because what they misunderstand is it's the middle management of a major corporation that's risen up in income over the last 5 years consistently that aspires the luxury lifestyle. You're seeing way more of them in your $800 a night room category than you are the private jet people. And the mistake that people don't understand with that is that same person who would pay the $800 a night, their actual income level, the main things you think you know about them would actually qualify them for a $150 a night room type to market against. But you just don't understand what really is meaningful to them. And they're the easiest ones to make loyal, by the way. There goes Lauren.
I guess he disagreed with that last point.
Misunderstanding who your customer is, I think, is always something worth bringing up because I think most misunderstand who their customer
are. The sales department, hating Smurf business and stuff like that. It's like, come on, guys, look at all these people who are coming in to your property for whatever event, right? It's a wedding, it's an educational summer. Your property's being exposed to them. What can you do to have them, like the food and beverage outlet, or to come back or consider putting their crazy relatives who they hate having stay with them to maybe put them up here instead. I mean, it's a huge, huge opportunity. And so often just the lowest level person in the sales department, just milliner, just really crazy, crazy stuff. Who's paying you, and that's the bottom line. And
Yep.
yeah, you get the well, and part of it is, I can't say it's done for the right reasons. I mean, people, they just get such a myopic view where they're looking at it going, they love the property, they work in it every day, they live it, it's their whole life, they know everything good about it, they overlook all of its shortcomings, right? Because they've invested so much in it, and they can't understand why everybody else doesn't have that perspective, right?
Right.
So that's the
Yep.
yeah. Bottom line is, you got to think like your customers, and if you don't understand your customers, maybe you're successful. I don't know. It's just a lot harder.
You're lucky.
You're lucky.
You don't understand your customers and you're successful, you're lucky. And sometimes it is better to be lucky than good.
Absolutely. And all of us say that with our careers, I believe, on this show.
100%. 100%.
So what else do we have here that might be an interesting... Oh, they had the hardest SEO quiz you will ever take.
Yeah.
Which I did take, and a few of the questions I knew the answers, but I didn't get the right, the way the question was worded.
Yeah, so I'll be full disclosure here. I know nothing about SEO, so I didn't even bother.
I think I got like 13 or 14 out of 20, which I thought was pretty good, and some of them were. I probably should have gotten maybe a 7.
It's so outside my world. I didn't even. I looked at it and I said, well, that's not for me.
Yeah.
If there was the easiest SEO quiz, then I probably would have clicked into it and spent some time on it.
I would recommend for people who don't know about it, actually, when you look at the right answers, and some of them were, oh, that's how that works. So there might be some benefit there of seeing what's going on. I think, always an interesting one is Expedia. This one I thought was a very kind of nuanced story of Expedia getting sued, right? Because Lauren was ranting about lawyers before, but this is one where basically it was these inflated fees on reservations.com, who is an Expedia affiliate, right? So on Expedia proper, you've got all sorts of terminology that they use for these fees, where they will say, what do they call it? They go fees and taxes, right? So it's combined together. Well, reservations.com was a little sloppy in terms of its description of these, and an enterprising lawyer got out there and said, hey, you said those were taxes. We did the math. There's more money in this. You are defrauding people, and because you're an affiliate, we aren't going after you. We're going after,
Yeah, but because of that, they're not going to win. The laws of affiliates and the responsibility between the primary company and its affiliate, those are all well defined. This is and
I think Expedia will be able to defend it.
Yeah. So first of all, what's interesting though is there are plenty of OTAs that illegally handle fees and taxes. I know this from my previous life, where I had to build systems to understand how OTAs manipulate net rates. And in that, time and time again, marking up taxes, that's the most common, where they apply a margin to tax. They bundle into taxes credit card processing fees, but they mark up the credit card processing fee on top of that. Listen, reservations.com, first of all, shady company. This lawyer is looking allegedly shady company. They're looking in the right place. But Expedia, they're barking up the wrong side of it. You're not going to out-lawyer Expedia, who has, they have survived every major government area trying to get tax, cuts of margins and argue, back taxes are owed. They survived all of that. So
most of them were very, very yeah, just completely ridiculous, because the problem is the local tax jurisdiction, right? You have to look at, hey, that local tax jurisdiction bases the tax revenue on what the hotel books as revenue. If the hotel isn't booking as revenue, you have no case. And the number of these guys who were getting paid running around chasing, these big payouts, it was just insane.
Yep.
Although there is still, like, Rome, Georgia, who did have their tax written. They said it's what the consumer pays. And what happened? Expedia and at the time, Travelocity and Orbitz and everybody else popped them out of their system, right? Which was, I thought that should have really been the one that was carried out, because that was a completely evil, coordinated move by multiple organizations to then blackball these guys who go, wait a second.
See, but here's the thing I don't understand.
You're selling a product in our jurisdiction. Here's how the taxes work.
Yep. But here's the thing I don't understand. It's not evil of them to go, well, if that's how you want it to work, then we don't want to work with you. Yeah. Why does it come? Why just because they're a gigantic organization can they not reasonably say, all right, your arrangement does not work with us, so our easy answer is we will not work with you, right? Because that's what consumers' rights are. If Expedia puts forward unreasonable terms and conditions to a consumer, the consumer can go elsewhere,
right? But the terms aren't unreasonable. They were just judging. It doesn't
matter.
Here's our tax. We're using this for a tax basis,
here's the thing,
which is slightly different.
It doesn't matter if they're reasonable or unreasonable.
Right.
Expedia
they don't like it.
And listen, I'm not one to fight for big scary giant companies, but I do think it's ridiculous, like, when things like that come up and people are like, it was the wrong thing to do to pull out. I'm sorry. Like, I am the first person to say, like, some of the stuff Google has gone through with the European Union. If I was Google, I would have been like, all right, well, we'll see how your consumers vote when they no longer have Google.
Well,
and that's worked now. Like they ran into it in Spain, and now, like, half the internet's dark to certain parts of Spain, and guess what? The voters are speaking, and magically they will come to reasonable perspectives.
Yeah. Well, I kind of look at it, though, that, the hotel owners in that locale basically didn't get business, right? And all the hotel owners who were outside
so then what's going to happen?
Loved it, right? So so is there pressure to go change the law?
There will be.
Back this.
Right. Well, if you pull out,
they wound up coming, and they wound up doing
settling.
It. But again, why should the law be based on that? Because again, Expedia's rationale for doing that.
The law is meant to serve the people that it governs, and so while it attempts to hit angles, you have to understand a good law is going to be meaningful to everyone that's part of that economy.
Well, absolutely. Including the hotel owners, which because of merchant rates, in this particular case, also applied fair taxation to merchant rates, because if you have the law where it's only applied on the net rate, that extra margin is not taxed. So $100 room that is sold by the hotel direct winds up having to pay whatever $10 in tax, and the Expedia room that's sold for $10 only has $8 in tax. Now, in some cases, the hotel owners like that. Now, they don't like paying the margin to Expedia, right? But they sit there and go, hey, we're paying less on taxes, but you're kind of like, but you also didn't get the $100. You only get, your ADR just dropped by whatever percent, right?
Now, the funniest is the situations that Expedia has brilliantly gotten itself into, where they're driving demand to a market by really squeezing hoteliers, but then getting tax revenue for marketing from the destination that the hoteliers are paying out of that tax revenue to drive more business to Expedia, which takes a cut.
To then squeeze the hotel because of it's a virtuous cycle, as they would call it. Yes. Yeah.
So listen, we're coming up on 1 o'clock. I do have a hard stop because this is my last day of the year. and I actually have to get
What?
stuff done. Yes.
Wait a second. Flip2 customers work 24/7.
Wait. I want to be clear.
Away,
this is my
engaging with
personal last day of the year. It does not mean it's Flip2's last day of the year.
But wouldn't
but
you
it's
want the
mine.
leader of an organization to be there with their staffs working hard all the time on behalf of those customers, and not take the Ebenezer Scrooge approach where, the leader is there while the poor accountant with Tiny Tim can't do his holiday supper.
That's nice. So my employees who do not celebrate the upcoming holidays generally take the cover as their peers do during their holidays. So nice try though.
Okay.
Yeah, nice try. Also, I've not taken much vacation this year, so I'm going to take an extra couple of days because otherwise I only took about 5 days of vacation this year.
I thought for a second you said that you were only going to offer, positions to atheists, because then you don't have to give people time off for holidays. So then, for religious holidays, and there you go. So
no, I think atheists have lobbied to have specific days of celebration.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. Like real atheists, not
Yes,
not posing atheists.
Although I did work with a fellow at one company who I swear took every religious holiday. I don't know exactly what his faith was, but he was very opportunistically, taking a pluralistic theism approach, I think.
When smoking first started going out of style, like I used to listen to people, kind of using the mindset that smokers take more breaks than non-smokers. As like the whole reason, and it's like, well, wait, why not just encourage your employees to get up and walk around every once in a while to, not sit there dying.
And that whip you uses, I think, gets them moving. So
get on your feet.
Lauren, you were gone, and then you came back and were straightening your hair. What exactly was going on there? You're muted.
Why is your shirt on inside out now, Lauren?
Exactly. We can't hear you.
We can't hear you because you're muted.
There we go.
Hey.
So as Ed knows, there's a wonderful storm line that's running through Florida right now. And we just had a wonderful 70+ mile an hour gust that blew through and just knocked. Shit was going down the road. And anyway, I have an anemometer. I imagine that because I have my drone. So I ran outside, because the power kept dying. It died, and then it kept dying over and over and over. I'm like, I ain't turning on my computer until it's passed. So I went outside to see what was going on. Brought my anemometer, and we were getting gusts of 50 miles an hour.
Wow.
I would recommend investment in an uninterruptible power supply, Lauren.
I have one. That's the thing that blew me away. It's like my wife
but you
over
have
there.
To plug your internet into it as well.
Just sitting in the box.
The router
next
needs
to
to be on it too. Yes, your router needs to be on it.
All right,
damn it,
gentlemen. I do have to run because otherwise I won't get to eat lunch today. I hope
this is his last day of the year.
This is my last day of the year. So I hope you all have a happy holidays if you're celebrating anything coming up. Otherwise, have a good normal week and a half.
And are you going anywhere to venture, or are you just in Orlando?
Family stuff. We may go on a road trip. Not sure yet. Depends on the weather.
Holiday road.
Plans for any bowl participation?
No, it's too far, man. Too far.
Okay.
Although I would love to, especially since it's interesting because you're a Texas Tech fan, right?
Yes. Well, my daughter goes to Texas.
What happened to their recruiting class? They have one of the worst rated recruiting classes this year cycle. Yeah.
Well, they lost Cliff. They lost their coach, and they now brought in the guy from Utah State, who's apparently a very good coach. But
he's a good coach. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you said this about UCF where they have this fund of $40 million, something that's been so successful to help students with their loans that they actually reduce students from having to take loans because they have this fund to help them.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy, dude. That's impressive.
It's one of the reasons they're actually growing so fast is they have found ways to make education accessible to a wider audience. That's why the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has started, putting substantial support behind UCF. It's why they're winning other grants, is because they focus on making education more accessible. Part of making it more accessible means making it less expensive.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
No,
So,
all
right, gentlemen.
If you want to know about Flip 2, where they can find you and all that kind of happy stuff.
Flip.to, and you can find me on social media, Edward StOnge. Do not follow me on Twitter unless you want to hear more about UCF athletics.
Especially between now and the bowl game. Or immediately following the bowl game.
That's right. So, all right, gentlemen, thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Mr. Ed, for the time.
Happy Festivus, Robert. And
exactly.
Happy Festivus for the rest of us.
That's right. See you, gentlemen.
Bye, Mr. Ed.
Bye.
Well, I made it back in time. Unfortunately, no power.
Well, and since you blew it, we didn't have a rut row because you wanted to talk about Facebook off the top of the show. So
that's true. I did.
All the dedicated, loyal,
Rut-Row fans
who've survived the gauntlet of the rest of the show. So
no Rut-Row for today. What are your plans for the holidays, Mr. Robert?
My plans are to stay Ed's in Orlando. I don't know what you do in Orlando, but I will be in Irving, Texas for the holidays. Yes. So my daughter is back from Texas Tech, and she is shadowing a bunch of people in occupational therapy and has that all kind of scheduled for these weeks. So she's not not going anywhere. So we will be around with that. And then she's headed off to study in Italy in the spring. So
that's good. That's a lot of fun.
We're going to be hanging out here locally for the holidays. An older daughter
we do have
off with the in-laws in Colorado skiing, which is like, but what can you do? So
yeah, we have one more show left in the year next Friday. I don't know if you would make it. Hopefully you would.
I should be. Yes, I should be around and available. So yeah, we can do a year in review show or something like that. So.
You realize when we roll
or year forward, or actually, if everybody's got the 2019 predictions, maybe we should do a prediction show.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Maybe a prediction. I was going to do the wrap up to take our best, because I have all the notes as for everyone that follows the show and goes to the links and so forth. Every show, Robert has curated a wonderful list. Never get anywhere near close to complete touching on all the topics, but it's a well curated list. It's well received by the marketing board of HSMAI. It's on our link for each show, as they are, and I know from the traffic from the links, there's a lot of people that participate with it. And it's a great synopsis of that week in a time capsule. Also, the play recording of the shows. I edited in the sense I put an entrance and the closing, and some third bars to introduce people in case we don't introduce them by name for those who may not already know them as guest co-hosts and what have you. But those are all there. This is literally 6. We go back all the way to 2015 in this endeavor. And when we roll into 2019, we'll be well into 4.5 years of doing it a week. So you can imagine of content and points and references that we have. And it's almost like a guidebook as to the progression of things that are hospitality. So possibly I was going to go back and pick some of the highlights out of the year. I mean, GDPR was definitely data violations, another hot topic.
I think we look forward, Lauren. Forget the past. It's like we should be the Snapchat of podcasts. It happens, it's live, and then it's gone. No? You don't like that approach?
It's gone. Yeah, no.
Into the ether.
No. Fun, especially if it just ends up being unique, because God knows we can burn 2 hours prognosticating about 2019. As to what we think the world's going to. Next week's show for everyone who wants to join and participate with us will be our fortune. Are we going to get a little turban? We're going to wear a little turban like the great Karnak from Johnny Carson days?
Yes, exactly.
Hold the envelope up to the head, and the answer is.
And how he always tore the envelopes open. He always tore off the end, blew into it, and then it was always the.
Pull it up, get the answer.
A lost.
Obviously, we're talking to it. Anybody that's not at least 30 years old has no idea what we're talking about.
I know. Well, not even 30. I would say, you might even have to be 40 to know that. The one thing that you did miss was we talked a little bit about Ed has a weakness. He knows nothing about SEO, so he had no interest in Bill Slosky's hardest SEO quiz you'll ever take. So I don't know if you had taken the quiz yet, but I thought that That might be an
I
interesting
don't have
one.
everything open to go back to the
And
links.
even
My
if people
apologies, I
don't,
wouldn't-
even if people don't know SEO, I told them it's an interesting one because you can wind up seeing the answers and go, oh, that's how that works. That's a particular signal for whatever. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting one. But yeah, wrapping up.
I like this.
Thank you very always nice to. I thought you would have jumped on the SEO quiz and wanted to do it real time.
I did not take the quiz. I saw the link
to show off your expertise. So
yes, I will be very quick to go back several times until I get perfect, and then share the score.
Exactly. I think very honestly, I think I got a 13 out of 20, and there were probably at least at least 5. I just was like, I don't know that one, but there were a couple where there was tricky wording. Read those questions carefully. So that's my tip, because a couple of them were just purely on the on kind of the wording of the question, going, oh well, that was okay. You tricked me. Not that I knew the answer, but didn't catch the trick in the question. So. But anyway, but I thought that was pretty good. If that is the hardest SEO quiz you'll ever take, I figure, hey, I got 75.
That's nice. I like this. I'm going to steal this and share this with people. I think it'd be a great personalization. Okay, Robert, if people want to find more about you and the wonderful world of Rock Cheetah, where is it that they may find you, sir?
The wonderful world of Rock Cheetah, which actually is going to get more interesting in the new year as long as we get this deal signed. It's rockcheetah.com.
Big master deal. We're going to be talking to your assistants. You're just going to put the assistant on the show after you get this big deal. It'll be like, on behalf of Mr. Robert Cole, I'm here to be on the show.
It's going to be just a virtual sort of thing. I think we're going to use that NVIDIA stuff and just completely use some AI and get the thing going. And I don't have to do it. So rockcheetah.com or Robert K. Cole on social media.
Well,
we'll hopefully have a very interesting, cool announcement in the hopefully later this afternoon. I don't know. We'll see.
Nice. Nice.
Anyway.
Well, for everyone that joined us live, or for my interruption for dropping in and out, and as always, you can find this and all previous 175 shows, links to them, and the wonderful curated content that Robert generates, and playback of any of these shows at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live. Should you have any questions or topics you'd like us to include to it, or actually even join us on the show, you're more than welcome to, and you can email us at info@hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com.
And so. Jason Fried wants to be on the show.
I told him
said he can be on the show. We got to pick a date. So
he just has to pick a date. I will move heaven and earth to make sure Mr. Jason, because he makes great content. He's really, if anybody has insights to stuff, he does. He knows what's going on. He writes about it every day. He lives and breathes this stuff. I would welcome Jason on the show anytime he feels.
And when he was doing Hotel News Now, he was probably, in terms of the folks who interview me, some of the most insightful. I mean, well-informed, knowing the subject matter, getting to the next layer.
Knowing who he's talking to and about.
Yep. Right. Yeah. Knowing who he's talking to in terms of who he's interviewing, and then getting it tailored to the audience to make sure that it's relevant to them. Does a wonderful job. Duetta is very lucky to have him working.
Duetta is very lucky to have him as his content spokesman. Yep, absolutely.
Yep, exactly.
All right. Mr. Robert, thank you as always. Thank you everyone that joined us live. For those that listen to us on Facebook or on YouTube or whatever channel you designate to.
Don't listen to us on. Wait a second. Stay on Facebook to listen to the show.
Stay on Facebook. All right. With that, concluding to show number 176. We'll see you next week for show number 177, Friday, 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central. Same channel, same bat channel, same time. Talk to you.
That's right.